Hey everybody, how's it going? What that? Dan, I'm in a new Star Wars movie. I don't know if you've heard. It's called Return of the... Anyways, Dan Shinder here with Dr. Nadia Azar, professor of kinesiology at the University of Windsor, Canada A. And we're here to talk about all kinds of drumming-related repetitive motion injuries, such as carpal tunnel, arthritis, bursitis, tendinitis, sore shoulders, hips, lower back, arches, all sorts of things like that. Right, Nadia?
You bet.
Yeah, and this is brought to you by the MetaFlex Therapy Glove. So I'm about to turn 60. I've been playing 53 years. I've always worked with my hands, gardening and stuff like that. And I had not too mild of a case of arthritis up until about maybe 6 months ago when I started using this glove. I also had a really bad case. You've heard me talk about it on the show, Nadia, but trigger finger in both my hands on the ring finger. All of that is gone. So this is great for compression, circulation, strengthening. Check out the link in the post. And if you have hand issues, don't have to be a drummer. Any musician, non-musician, music fan, or human, go ahead and check it out. Nadia, how's it going? Last show of the year.
Yeah, I can't believe we've gotten to this point. It's going good. Wrapping it up, trying to, cruise my way into the holidays.
Yeah, so. Absolutely. Same here. I actually thought, and here's kind of an announcement for the flies on the wall. And feel free to ask questions in the comments, but real quick, fly on the wall little preview is I thought I was going to book 2 interviews this month. And I honestly haven't even spoken to those 2 people yet. And we just kept getting hit up by artists and PR companies. Now we got all kinds of interviews this month. Today I just booked Phil Ehart for the 20th from Kansas. Some other really great stuff that we'll be posting about, but that's the latest, really neat stuff. So I'm told my wife Enja earlier, I'm like, I thought I was going to cruise this month. I'm working harder than any month in the last 6 months, but it's all for good stuff. So let's talk drumming/repetitive motion injuries. And if you're a guitar player, sax player, and you have issues from just years and years of working the valves, working the fretboard, working the bow, whatever, you count. We want to hear from you. So Nadia, what's new in that world? Any new discoveries in science or physical therapy? Or have you come across anything new with people you've been talking to, any polls, anything that you want to bring to light? And if not, we will move from there.
Okay. I actually just finished a continuing education certificate through the Performing Arts Medicine Association.
Just kidding. Yeah, go ahead. That's great.
All right, thanks very much.
I remember you working on that, and that went by quick. How much time did you put into that?
Yeah. I think all told, there was about 15 to 20 hours worth of videos, like presentations and stuff to watch. Mm-hmm. And then, reviewing it all and writing the final exam. So I passed. So I got my certificate. That's but great. It was Essentials of Performing Arts Medicine. And it was really interesting because it wasn't specific to drummers or percussionists, although there was a section on drummers and percussionists in the course, but so many interesting topics about musicians, health and wellness, but not just musicians. They're for dancers, for vocalists, actors, all kinds of stuff, and running the gamut of physical, psychological, they talked about performance anxiety, they talked about all kinds of stuff. Really interesting, interesting content. Yeah. Which I'm really looking forward to having that to now maybe bring some of that into, the research and the lab and, these conversations to, help impart some of that. But yeah, so that's kind of what's the newest thing in my world. Still working on the drum interview study, the instructors. We've done the preliminary analysis. Really good. We're about halfway done. We've interviewed all the independent instructors and still working on recruiting the college level and high school instructors to do those interviews. But we found some really interesting results so far, which really, really cool because we actually found so more of the participants, actually all the participants, said that they taught their students about injury prevention, which is like the complete opposite of what I found in my previous studies. But I mean, as a result of that, from their conversations, I identified more things that contribute to helping them be able to teach about it instead of things that are maybe keeping them from teaching about it. But the good thing about that is now I can help people leverage that.
Yeah, that's great.
You know, so I'm really excited about that. I'm working on publishing some of that right now, and, you know, getting a paper ready to present, submitted it to present at a conference this summer. So going to submit to present it at PASIC again. Well, not again, to present it at PASIC next year.
Next year.
So, yeah.
And, are you still recruiting educators for that? Like, is there a way people can message you to get on board that you want to talk about?
Absolutely. So I'm specifically looking for people who teach the drum set as a college professor or university professor, or as a high school music instructor, for credit within those programs. Like I said, I've already finished interviewing the independent instructors who teach privately in their own homes or at music schools or things like that. So the best way to get in touch with me for that is probably to email me at my university email, which is my last name, Azar, the number 5, at uwindsor.ca. That's the official communication channel for the study. So that's the best place to find that. And, you know, maybe I'll drop my email in the chat or in the comments so that if anyone's looking for it, they can find it.
And maybe separate
there we go.
I was going to say separate your last name from the @ sign and a space in the rest, just so you don't get a bot picking it up and get a bunch of buy this, watch this, lunchbox, adopt a pet. And not that there's anything wrong with adopting a pet. We did that with 3, but just so you don't get spammed like crazy. Cool. Thanks, Steve. And I'm really curious to hear how that comes out, because you and I talked about this a little bit when the topic first came up. And I believe but my suspicion absolutely is that there's going to be a very small percentage of drum set instructors that cover the health aspect to avoid injuries. And I bet it's under 7%. And I'm gauging that on 2 things. I started taking lessons in the dark ages, and it was not even like a thing, you know. And then growing up and playing and just meeting and speaking to instructors, and then fast forward a few decades, becoming the Drum Talk TV guy and working with people like Jason Gianni, Dom Famulero, Don Moyo, just goes on and on and on and on. And tons of fans who have submitted lesson videos. I've never once heard these words uttered or written about watch out that you don't acquire, and then name any one of those elements that you and I talked about in the open. I've just never heard it. So I'd love to be presently surprised that there's some sort of coming out of the woodwork turnout of people that say, oh yeah, I cover it, and this is how, or this is what, and this is why. You know, that would be great. And if not, it's still okay, because this means there's huge opportunity, you know, for you to make sure that these people do become educated, knowledgeable, wise, and have the skill sets to be enlightened, to enlighten their students to avoid injury. You know, because it happens. It definitely happens.
It definitely does. And I had like several things pinging as you were talking. I'm like, I want to address that. I want to address that. And now I forget like 90% of them. Two things, the biggest things. One is this study that I'm doing is different from the other kinds of studies I do, in that I'm not trying to get a huge sample of participants. Like normally, like with the survey study, I wanted, my goal was 1,000 people, because the data analysis for that type of research lends itself to that. This kind of research is not meant to be done with tons of people. I interviewed 12 and I analyzed the data from 6 of those interviews. And that's the type of work that this is. The idea is to go more in depth with fewer people.
Okay.
But because you can get a lot more detailed insight with that. And then what I did was I sent those preliminary results to all 12 of them to say, hey, does this reflect like what your experience is? And overwhelmingly it did. So
nice.
I know I was on the right track there.
Yeah.
But what I was going to say is, to have 12 participants come into the study and all 12 of them said that they taught about injury prevention is far from what I was expecting. And I think part of that has to do with...
Yeah, what do you think that influences?
I think some of it is selection bias, which means the people who saw the ad for the study, the ones who do teach about it, we're more motivated to participate. Probably because maybe the people who don't teach it might have felt like, well, I don't want them to know I don't teach it. They're going to think I'm a bad teacher or something like that.
Yeah.
And that's not at all the case. So if anybody's watching and is interested and you don't teach about it, I really need to hear from you, because what I want to identify is the reasons why people don't, so that I can maybe be able to make some inroads to make it, like, to eliminate those barriers. But if I don't hear from people that don't teach it, then I won't identify very many of those barriers and they'll persist. So I'm hoping with this next round of interviews that I will get more people who don't, or who do it like minimally, so that I can maybe get a better sense of what are some of the reasons why people don't, and what are some things I can do to help eliminate those barriers.
That's great. I'm very curious to hear how this comes out in the long run. It's a very interesting topic. And I'm guessing what would probably transfer over a shorter amount of time is that as the number of instructors the increase in numbers of instructors who do teach that, I bet will come out, I'm thinking will come out of being educated about it, and they're younger and they're more open and they're learning about it. Or at the other side of the spectrum, people around my age that have suffered those injuries and they do already have that wisdom where don't end up like me, like I do that with ear protection. I need hearing aids for obvious reasons, or maybe some not so obvious reasons with 11 combined kids with my wife and 19 grandkids. Yeah, I need hearing aids, go figure. And been playing drums 53 years. So there's so much better technology than when I was growing up and playing, like ear protection. I could barely play with headphones on in the studio, even with good playback, just because, and part of it was probably psychological, but my drums, not being able to hear my drums properly. So just a regular earplug was like, no way, I'm not sticking pencil erasers in my ears and not be able to hear my dynamics or the sound of my drums that I worked so hard to sound really well. It's a whole different world now, but I'm too late to the party. So I'm hoping there's going to be some drum instructors that I'm not hoping they suffered injuries, but I'm hoping that the ones who have are smart enough to say, hey, this is what that was caused by, and I want to teach my students to avoid that,
Yeah, and that's actually one of the themes that came out of the analysis was that like individual or personal experience with a playing related injury was a resource that the instructors used to draw on to teach their students about.
Good.
So, and I didn't quantify how many out of the 12 said that, but it was definitely most of them, if not all.
Did you happen to know what
said they had?
I'm sorry. Did you know what the injuries were, or if there was a higher amount of one than the other?
No, because that wasn't really the focus of the study. But some, mentioned a wrist issue or a shoulder thing, or just like in passing, they're like, yeah, I have this thing, so I teach my students about it so that hopefully they won't get it, or that sort of thing. But it didn't really go into depth about asking them about it and how it happened and when it happened and that sort of thing, because that wasn't the focus of the study. So yeah, I don't know at the moment from those.
Cool. Let's see if we have any questions. No, we don't. Folks, you must.
I don't see any yet.
Yeah, you must have questions, comments. Do you have any drumming-related repetitive motion injuries like tendinitis, bursitis, carpal tunnel, arthritis, sore, why can't I say that? Sore shoulders, arches up here, neck, lower back, sciatica, anything get displaced, anything at all like that, we'd love to hear your story. If you have consciously avoided such injuries, please share the knowledge. How have you avoided those things? Is it your setup? Is it the way you play? I hurt my foot once really bad in a band by kicking the singer out of the band. I hurt my foot. That's my biggest drumming related injury, but I think the arthritis came with that too, that has pretty much gone away. The trigger finger is gone. And I don't know if you remember, it was so bad that I even demonstrated a couple times. I had to unlock it with my other hand. It became so bad and painful, dropped a cup a couple times, things like that. And that'll play on your head. Yeah, because I'm not 90. I have two friends that are over 90 that don't drop stuff from that. So I was feeling like, what is going on here, you know? But folks, we want to hear from you. If you have questions for Dr. Nadia, this is your chance. She's a professor of kinesiology, and it's 1:15 my time in Arizona. We've got her for another 15 minutes. We're halfway through. And one of the things I've noticed about Dr. Nadia Azar is if you ask a crazy question that she doesn't know the answer to, she will make up the most fascinating. I'm just kidding. It's all from your wealth of experience.
I won't make it up, but I will. If there's something I don't know, I will say so and then try to find it. If not right away, because I do have my computer in front of me, then, you know, for a subsequent talk so that I can address it.
Cool. Are you working with any artists currently or have any on the horizon that you're going to get with for anything?
Let's see. None with definitive dates. And I can't say who they are because until they sign my informed consent form waiving confidentiality and saying like, yeah, it's okay if you talk about this publicly, I can't say anything about it. Okay. But something that happened recently that was kind of neat, and I can talk about it because he's already waived it. So years ago in 2018, when I was first getting started with the energy expenditure study, Chuck Como, who is the drummer for Simple Plan, was one of the first people to do my study. And he was playing, the band was in Windsor back in November. And so we did it again. I guess it would be 4 years later. Wow. Collected data again. And he was in town long enough that he was able to come to my lab. And he did one of the other lab-based studies too. So he's now been able to do a couple different things with us, which is super cool. But yeah, it was really neat to get data on him again, 4 years later to see how things had changed and, because they played a lot of the same songs. It was a longer set than it was previously, but it was still kind of neat to do that. So
was the energy expenditure more?
No, but it was very close. Like, it was interesting to see that, like, with the increased set length, how he did kind of decrease intensity a little bit to maintain the stamina for the longer period. But generally speaking, it was pretty consistent. I haven't published that data yet, so I don't want to get into too much detail. But it was neat to be able to see.
I'm curious if it's someone like that where the set was relatively the same or longer, and it's been a couple years, 4 years, and the expenditure of energy is close. Could it be because they're in better shape? And they can economize their movements and physicality? Could that have anything to do with it?
It probably could. I mean, I think Chuck was probably, because in addition to playing, a really energetic style of drums, he does exercise quite a bit. So he's in pretty good shape to begin with. It is tricky to compare data so far apart because so many things, we've been through a pandemic. We've been through periods of, not doing much. I don't know if he, I didn't ask questions about his health, but let's say he had COVID 3 times. I don't know if he did. I'm not saying he did. But if he did, that could have a significant impact on your circulatory system. As we know, it attacks the epithelial tissues, and that could affect heart rate. It could affect your breathing mechanics. It can affect all kinds of things. So it's really tough to say and look, things are exactly the same. There are several reasons that they could be. They could have, it could be that things actually did get less, but because he works out so much, he managed to stay in shape. or, it could be that because the set was longer and he was, taking it a little bit easier. Like there are many possible explanations for, why the data looks the way it does. So that would have to be taken into consideration. Also, the 2 previous shows in 2018 were outside in the middle of July. It was Warped Tour. It was hot. It was, and this was it was in November in an air-conditioned venue indoors, so that would certainly, affect things too. But again, to what extent is difficult to say because the conditions weren't, identical between studies. So it's tough to make the direct comparison, but still interesting to look at what changed and what didn't and think about why it did or didn't.
Right. Very interesting. Yeah. Any questions? No questions. Everyone must be feeling pretty good and very
They're eating lunch.
So I'll ask
you this. Because it's Pacific time, right?
Yeah.
So, go ahead.
But it is for them. Yeah. But what about everybody else? So are you playing drums still?
No.
Oh, no. You said that like you were going to get yelled at by your uncle or something.
Because I feel like I might. No, I'm actually.
I won't do that.
Really disappointed. You're not going to yell at me, Uncle Dan?
You're on sabbatical. Maybe now's a good time to weave a little bit of that in.
So that was the plan originally, is I was thinking, I'm on sabbatical. I'm going to have all this time. And I just haven't. The Grammy study has, I call it the Grammy study because it was funded by the Grammy Museum.
Yeah.
The interview study has taken up a lot of time. I co-wrote a grant for funding to continue to develop this Canadian percussion network that colleagues of mine at McMaster and McGill started through the pandemic, and it's kind of grown. So that took up, part of September, and, then my daughter's got volleyball season, and here we are.
Yeah.
It's December, and I haven't played the drums.
End of the year all of a sudden. Yeah. Well, you got through July to work in even just once a week for half an hour. Could make a big difference.
I know.
Yeah. And it'll do a lot for all up here, and just, I love it. I still love it. I think I'm having more fun as a drummer now than I ever have when I was in bands, when I was producing, when I was a session player, when I was touring, when I was tearing up the Sunset Strip in Hollywood. There's something about the lack of pressure. And I when I play on Drum Talk TV, for you, Nadia, but also you folks watching, when I play on Dan's Almost Daily Vlog, I don't feel any pressure. And I do that to encourage all of you to just get and make videos. Don't turn it into a forever project with the lighting and take 5, 6. Just play. Just play. You got to be comfortable in your skin, and you keep doing it, and it will just come out. Yeah, sometimes I forget dropping a stick. I mispronounce my name. So what? Just have fun, play, and share your brilliance. And we have a big announcement coming in January about Drum Talk TV Brilliance. So check that out on our Facebook page coming really soon, and YouTube, Instagram, Vimeo, and Twitter for that matter. But we've got Dylan Jenkins. Dylan says, thank you, Dylan. He says, he's on tour in the middle of a 6-week tour, or at the time had my right knee pop. Ow, really bad. It was difficult to walk for the following days, as well as continuing for the rest of the tour. Now I have since been stretching my legs, and it's better now, but I can't. Let me click more. Sorry, where did it go? But I can still feel it's not fully healed after a couple months. I'm worried I may have seriously damaged my right knee. So Nadia, would that be muscular? Could it be muscular? Could it be cartilage? Could it be tendon? Could it be displacement within the socket or without of the socket? What could that be? And thanks for chiming in, Dylan.
Yeah. If you felt a pop, then that suggests to me it's probably, and stretching helped, but it's still not fully healed, then the issue probably or may not have been muscular. It might have been something in the joint. For example, a meniscus or one of the ligaments or something like that. I actually had something very similar happen to me this summer playing beach volleyball.
Really?
I landed funny after going up for a hit, and I got up and was thinking, that's going to hurt tomorrow. And it did, but I was expecting it to, go away after a week or so, and it hadn't. And by the end of the summer, I couldn't dive anymore, and things like that. So yeah, so I'm actually waiting. So moral of the story here, Dylan, is I would go and get some imaging done if you can. X-ray probably won't show anything if it's a soft tissue injury, but it'll rule out any fractures that may have happened, which are probably unlikely. It's probably not a fracture, but MRI, I just had an MRI done, and I'm waiting to meet with my sports med doc next week to get the results of that, to say, like, did I tear my meniscus? Did I pop a ligament? Like, what happened here? So yeah, if it hasn't healed and it's been, any kind of muscular issue, muscles have a lot of blood vessels in them. They heal quickly. So even if you did have a minor tear in a muscle, within a few weeks, that should have healed up pretty nicely. So I would go and get that evaluated and get that checked out. And maybe talk to a physiotherapist too, to see if there's anything. It could be nothing with imaging. It could have been a muscle thing that maybe there's some scar tissue in there that some stretching and some ultrasound will help. So it's really important to go see a medical professional, and in particular, a physiotherapist, because they can help you with the rehabilitation side of that. So that would be my suggestion, is to go get that looked at.
Great, thanks. Yeah, a couple months after the fact is a long time. So have that looked at and report back to us. We do this show monthly, and I can't believe it's the last one of the year. We only have a couple minutes left for someone to chime in, give us the scoop. In the meantime, I want to remind everybody, it's back on the other hand. How'd that happen? About the MetaFlex Therapy Glove.
It's magic.
Yeah, magic. Tendinitis, arthritis, carpal tunnel. It can help with all those, and you can adjust the tension so that you have more resistance for strength building. It's also a compression glove, and we appreciate the folks over at MetaFlex Therapy Glove from ATS Innovations. Click on the link in the post to just check it out. Just check it out. But these have worked wonders for me. I really have almost zero hand pain, zero trigger finger anymore, and I don't play in these. They could be great for that because of the material, and they're really neat. They're super comfortable, but I just wear them and exercise with them. I personally don't play with them. So there you go.
I was going to ask you that, actually, if you had tried playing with them yet.
I haven't. I should. You know why I haven't thought of that or acted on it? Because I've personally never played with gloves. So it doesn't cross my mind, but I'm going to put these with this one of my cameras right next to me, so it reminds me to take them down to my studio later and do that. It keeps sticking to my beanie with the Velcro. Come on. All right. We've only got a couple minutes left. Nadia, is there anything you want to give out to everybody as sort of a general rule of thumb to help them take care of themselves? What a couple really simple tips. Drum set players.
Yeah, so absolutely. So I think I say this pretty much every time, but it's because it's that important. Warm up. You have to prepare your body to play. It's really, really important to do that. Not only will you just feel better, like, you don't want to be warming up as let's say you start a show and you haven't warmed up. You don't want to be like, okay, now it's the third song in and I'm starting to feel good. Like, you want to go into it right away feeling loose, relaxed, warm, ready, easy to move, that kind of thing. So do that beforehand. It also could help prevent some injuries from happening. So obviously that's my big issue.
That's my niece yelling at me, because it reminds me I don't warm up when I teach. And my student came over, I had a student come over last night. We went right into the newest song he learned, Synchronicity 2. And after a moment, I'm like, wow, this is like a workout here. No warm up. What did we do next? Great job, Marty. That was great. Let's start the next new song, YYZ, with no warm up. So I will work on warming up.
Yeah.
Thanks for that reminder.
Definitely warm up before you play and cool down after you're done. Very
Absolutely.
important.
Yeah. Nadia, thanks so much for joining us again here on Drumming Injury Talk with Dr. Nadia. For those of you new to this series, Drum Talk TV original series, Dr. Nadia is a professor of kinesiology at the University of Windsor, Canada. She's done many drumming injury studies, energy expenditure studies. We did something 4 years ago now. When you were out here, that was 4 years ago when she was out here for 3 days. Hooked me up to all kinds of electrodes. That was a lot of fun. We'll actually schedule that for December as part of our end of 10 years celebration that we're beginning. Folks, sign up for our newsletter. Steve, our producer, Steve Shinder, maybe you could drop that link, sign up for our newsletter with that link in the comments and pin that, because we have big announcements. And December 21st, I'm doing a holiday episode live on the Drum Talk TV Facebook page. And before then, I'm sending out a newsletter with interviews for this month, many more than I planned on doing. Some great stuff just fell out of the sky, as well as info about how we're going to celebrate 10 years, which might last all of the 11th year. So there you go. And we'll also talk about our next date with Dr. Nadia here on Drumming Injury Talk on Drum Talk TV. Nadia, thank you so much. Happy holidays to you and Dory and the family.
Same to you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Same to you all.
Thanks. And hang on the line. And folks, go sign up for the newsletter and watch more Drum Talk TV videos. Like, seriously, what are you all doing with your time? Oh, just kidding. Happy holidays. We'll see you all very soon. Thanks.
Bye.